Kala Yehowa Ba'ashem Yahushai Ba'ashem Harakakwadash, back at you with another lesson Hakim. Giving our praises to Yehowa Ba'ashem Yahushai. Double honors to all the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and the house of David is rising. So we need discernment. Discernment is a must when it comes to making difficult decisions in our daily life, in our activities, and dealing with our brothers and sisters. So we have an example we're going to look at. Yaratazar, we get into some words. I was brought it up a little bit yesterday. Watching the video back, I said, why not go into the example and look up the word when I was doing my walk and talk out there yesterday. Unfortunately, I can't be out there today because of the weather. The weather's not looking too good. I like to be out there. I prefer to be out in the open when it comes to doing videos and being out there and taking in the fresh air and observing the nature, Most High's creation. But it's alright, we're going to roll within the spirit in the yard and make the best of a bad situation. I prefer to be out there, but we're going to look into the blue letter. It's more effective to look into the blue letter when you're sitting down and in a classroom setting, which I can't stand classroom settings, but we're going to do what we're going to do. We're going to do what we do. So here's an example now. We're going to look into the word discernment. Let's read this. Let's read this precept. 1 Kings chapter 3 and verse 7 says, "O now, O Lord my God, thou hast made thy servant king instead of David my father, and I am but a little child. I know not how to go out or how to come in. And thy servant is in the midst of thy people, with thou hast chosen a great people that cannot be numbered nor counted for multitudes." Here's the point. In 9, "Give therefore thy servant an understanding heart to judge thy people, that I may discern between good and bad, for who is able to judge this thy so great a people?" Right, yeah, so we touched on that word there yesterday a little bit, and the video was entitled Yehoshai, or Solomon stroke Yehoshai shall rule again to infinity. So yeah, we're going to get justice. When Yehoshai returns, we're going to get justice, judgment and righteousness being under him. And under David, we're going to know what it really feels like. We don't know what it feels like in this kingdom. So it's going to take discernment, as he showed the example when he was on the earth. And like I say, let's hit the word and then go into the example, and some examples not what to do as well. So let's first take a look in the word discernment. The synonym is judgment. Is that taste? Discrimination. Yeah, we see a lot of racism and discrimination today. Yeah, we don't understand, or many people who don't understand white supremacy, what it is and exactly how it works. As Neely Fuller Jr. said, if you don't understand white supremacy, what it is and exactly how it works, everything you think you understand would only confuse you. So people that don't understand white supremacy are confused. And if you're a judge, you couldn't give a flying monkeys about white supremacy. You just want to exercise your authority in an unrighteous way. And like I said yesterday, judges today don't pray for discernment. They don't give a monkeys. If you go before a judge today and you're before him, whether you be innocent or guilty, he ain't going to look at you. He ain't going to try and use any kind of discretion or discernment. He ain't going to look to try and understand. He ain't going to pray first and foremost to the Most High. You know, he ain't going to pray to the Most High to ask the Most High for wisdom so that he can judge in righteousness. No judge today ain't going to do that. But Solomon did that. So that's how he was able to judge righteously. That's how the Most High blessed him with multiple women, gold, silver, and the necks of his enemies, because he prayed to the Most High to be able to discern and judge the people to shepherd in righteousness. Something that judges don't do, and something that tyrants don't do in Israel. We see that with other camps, you know, these was it GLCC, whatever they're called, you know, telling people that Esau can be saved, trying to justify themselves. And there's other camps too, saying that the Yahushai shouldn't be worshipped, and all kind of abominable teachings is taking place now, because these tyrants today are not praying for wisdom and discernment, man, and they don't give a flying monkeys about the sheep, because they're wolves in sheep clothing. So subtlety, sensitivity, enlightenment, these are words that come under discernment. Enlightenment, perception. Yeah, and I done a video on what is a high IQ not too long ago. What is a high IQ if you don't have discretion? Many people have a high IQ in today. You know, you meet them in colleges and all these kind of higher learning places, Oxford and Cambridge, and you know, all these name colleges. You know, some of them real learned people, and they have high IQs, exceptional high IQs. If it's over 50, if your IQ is over 50 or even 90s, in the 90s, you're a gifted person according to the curriculum in this system. You're gifted if you have a high IQ around 100. You see, but it don't work like that with the Most High. It's all spiritual with the Most High. You got to have a lot of other things too. Compassion, right? Creativity, also that comes under intelligence. Discernment, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. You know, you got to have the whole package to be under the Most High, to be a judge today with the Most High. But the judges today, you know, they have exceptional high IQs according to the curriculum, and they don't give a flying monkeys about the sheep who are under their authority. It's all about ticking boxes. And if your face don't fit, they're gonna put you in front of you, and then they're gonna throw you away. And quite frankly, they don't care if they see you again or not. Just throw away the key, because these are people that have no spirituality. They have no respect. They are wolves in sheep clothing. Yeah, wolves in sheep clothing, as Yahushua called them. Discernment, the etymology. Let's read this. Did I read this bit? Yeah, there's another bit here in Google. Yeah, so this video I'm going to entitle it, "You need discernment to judge difficult situations." You need discernment if you're going to judge, just like Yahushua did when he was dealing with the Pharisees. You know, he was able to read hearts, so he was one up on them, so they couldn't deceive him or use their trickeries, their cunnings, their word plays, because he had discernment. He could read their heart. So today we need discernment. Discernment is a must to judge difficult people. Kind of as we know in this truth, you have the best of Israel and you have the worst of Israel. So you're gonna, you know, especially if you got a position of rank, you're gonna have to have discernment. You're gonna need to keep on asking the Most High for discernment. And we need it anyway, whether you just new in the truth. You need it for when you're dealing with these heathens and the ease. You need it every day. Sometimes I'm just doing a video, minding my own business, and you get some, like yesterday, some heathens. They look like Somalians, you know, or Ethiopians, but you could see that they were off. You could see that maybe they was chewing some cud. You know, if any of you brothers heard of cud, what the Somalians they chew, it makes them high. And it makes them be all kind of out of sync and all kind of mad, and they act kind of maddish and manic, and that's demons that's on them. So the guy said to me, "You doing what's that you're doing?" He said, "We reading the Bible." You see, the demon was on him. It was the demon that said that, because the demons are discerning on the left hand side. So they wanted me to invite them in so that they could disrupt my peace and interrupt my video and cause confusion. So I just, as it says in Proverbs, they said you were, and probably they're Muslims too, being that they was brought up in Saudi Arabia, and I know about, how the Muslims get down and how the Ethiopians, a lot of them, and the Eritreans, some of them are Muslims, and the Somalis, a lot of them are Muslims. I know that they don't really respect the Bible. They want to come in to show their hatred, because a lot of them are under the vibration of Antichrist. So I dismissed them, I just didn't really get into them or didn't entertain them, I just say, the scripture that comes to mind is Proverbs 26, man, chapter 26, where it says, not to answer a fool according to his folly, so there's not to be lower yourself to their level. So it's all what we're talking about is discernment. And we deal with, whether we're aware of it or not, we need discernment. We need it every single day. If you're dealing with your woman, your children, your mother, your father, you need discernment, man, discretion. The quality of being able to grasp and comprehend what is obscure. And it describes it there as a skill in discerning. It's a skill. Discernment is a skill. 2, an act of perceiving or discerning something, choosing the right example, sentence. Right, so that's it. Discerning something. An act of perceiving or discerning something, or a situation that comes around. And some of these situations, before you know it, you find yourself in some stupid situation that Satan wants to put you in. You go on the bus, you ain't got a mask, or people think you ain't got a mask. They're looking at you, giving you funny looks. I usually have my mask anyway, but I mean, and you got a demon might jump on someone and say, "Put your mask." It happens. It does happen, and you see it all on social media. So I make sure I'm in a position where I don't have to get into no back and forth with people. I may decide to just put it on. To silence the argument. No back and forth with these heathens, because these heathens are, their life, misery loves company. A lot of people in this world today, misery loves company. They ain't got no hope. This is all they inspire to. This is their kingdom. This is be all and end all to a lot of these people. If you're not in this truth, and even more importantly, if you're not of the elect, you have no hope, man. These people have no hope. So they're going to look to try and drag you down. Like I say, misery loves company. You got to be ready, man. In most cases, as it says, as I said, do not answer a fool according to their folly. Just keep it moving with a lot of these people. But there's some people that may be out sincere questions, and it's all about discernment when it comes down to it. And all of Yahshua's people at this, especially at a time like this, where they've got all kinds of laws that they want to introduce now, with the lockdown, not lockdown, lockdown, not lockdown. Now's the time you need that discernment, that discretion in your day-to-day life. That's why we're looking at this now. And like I say, when you're dealing with your brothers and sisters, man, in this truth, you need that discernment. So here's the etymology. Keenness of intellect, perception, insight, acuteness of judgment. That's it there, in a nutshell. There's more. Or insight goes to the heart of a subject, reads the inmost character. Discrimination marks the difference in what is finds. Discernment combines both these ideas. So, if I can pronounce that word there. Keenness, keenness. Keenness. Some people say he's got a keen eyesight. If you've got 20/20 vision, you've got your keen eyesight. Nothing escapes your vision. If you've got 20, they say, nothing escapes that guy, you can't pull the wool over that guy's eyes, because he's got keenness, he's got 20/20 vision. We want to have 20/20 vision in the spirit when it comes to this discernment. Perceives or recognizes the difference or distinctions between two or more things. Also distinguish an object with the eyes, to distinctly behold, also preserve, irrationally understand, discerner, divide, distribute, distinguish, perceive, off, away, distinguish, separate, sift. There you go. You've got to sift between the right and the wrong. Thus discriminate. Yeah, there's a whole heap of discrimination in this world on all levels. Class discrimination, color discrimination, height discrimination, clothes discrimination, dress code. If over here in America, there's certain places, LA, where it's about gangs. Even on the left hand side, they have to be discerning when it comes to wearing certain colors. You need discernment. When you just hear about these gangs, and if you wear the certain colors, you walk into a certain neighborhood, you're wearing the wrong color, you might lose your life, man. That's how important discernment is. And same with us today in the spirit. A lot of people have got demons on them, and I know you brothers have seen it. When you go into shops, you just watch people's movements, and you watch hand movements, hand gestures. Some people, you sometimes you just feel the presence that you're not welcome, the vibration that you're not welcome. It's because your spirit is clashes with their spirit, because they got demons on them. So let's read this again, man, and then we're going to look at going to the meaning. 1 Kings 3:9 says, give the meaning of discernment. Give therefore thy servant an understanding heart to judge thy people, that I may discern between good and bad, for who is able to judge this thy so great a people? And as the brothers said, and I'm gonna repeat it, you got the best and the worst in Israel. And Solomon, this is what Solomon is acknowledging. So he's asking the Most High for discernment. And even Moses said the same thing. Moses was Moses was burdened with the people, man. It was the rebellious people, though. They was pissing him off. So he asked the Most High to kill him, man. And that's in Numbers. I think it's Numbers 15. That could be a future video. So it ain't gonna be no easy dealing with rebels. Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. Most High had to Moses had wisdom, and spirit came down on another 70 other men when it came to being a judge or making decisions. Yehoshua said to him, with Jethro, his father-in-law, said, you need help, and another 70 other men, the spirit was poured down upon them to help Moses when it came to being a judge, to make those heavier decisions. And they dealt with decisions also which were not so heavy, but it lightened the load. So he needed discernment. But the point is, when it comes to dealing with situations, whether it be in the truth or in the world, discernment and discretion, like I said in my last video, it's not about high IQ, man. It's about wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, and discretion. And Solomon got his from Yehoshua, King Solomon. So this is an example here. Discern, that I may discern. Let's hear what it says.
Strong's H.
Looking at the word.
995. Bean.
H995. So we're going. It doesn't have to be no long video. We're just going to use the appropriate precepts for simplicity. Don't want to overcrowd it with over complicate it with a whole heap of different precepts. I'm going to stay on this point if necessary. Just like going in the spirit anyway. To discern, understand. To perceive, to discern, to understand, know with the mind, to observe. So if you don't understand something outright, up front, directly, it's the example of Solomon. He asked for the understanding through the Spirit from on high. That's how you can do that. And in James 1:5, chapter 1 and verse 19, if anyone is lacking wisdom, let him keep on asking. And I have many testimonies on the Most High bailing me out, and I'm going to use the main one, Christianity, because I was in there and I thought that was the truth. Quite frankly, I thought that was the truth, and but then I saw so many things when it came to unrighteousness and injustice with the elders, how they were dealing with the sheep, the fatherless boys and the widows, and I said, hold on a minute, this can't be the truth. This is unjust. And I was in the world before that, and I saw injustice in the world. It wasn't much different, in dealing with the certain authorities, the centurions and them people there with authority. They weren't dealing with the shepherds, or the authorities was dealing with the sheep in an oppressive and unjust, tyrannic way. So the Most High pulled me out of the world. Then he went out into Christianity to look for the truth. Pulled me out of there, because I was always seeking to rise my higher spirituality, my discernment, my understanding, and I kept asking the Most High for wisdom, as it says in James chapter 1 and verse 19. I kept asking for wisdom, and he got me out of this. So that's a testimony how the Most High can give you wisdom. Just keep asking. To observe, to know with the mind, to observe, mark, give heed, to distinguish, consider, to understand, discernment, insight. Take my time. To insight, understanding, to be discerning, intelligent. So that's the true definition of intelligence. Not ticking, signing and signing books or whatever they do. The judges tick boxes, and that's how they make their decision. Just tick boxes, and if his fears don't fit, lock him up and dash with a key. That's not intelligent. That's discrimination, or that's white supremacy in a lot of cases. That's not intelligent. You need wisdom from on high. Intelligent, that's wisdom from on high. True intelligence, discernment. Discreet, have understanding, to be able to understand and weigh up a situation to get the best results. To cause to understand, to give understanding, to teach, to show oneself discerning or attentive, that means to listen, to consider diligently. Here's a Strong's. Primitive root, to separate mentally, to distinguish, to attain, to consider, to be cunning, diligent, direct, discern, aquilant, feel, inform, have intelligence, know, look, well, to mark, preserve, to be prudent. King David was a prudent man, a mighty man of valor. So he comes under that too, as he was the father in the flesh of David. It was a family affair. So to have understanding in view. Deal wisely. You got enough out of that. So there's an example I want to look at. We'll just hit this example because it's an example of how the Most High did bless King Solomon. In 9 we looked at, well, he gave him the understanding and what he asked for, and then on top of that he gave him many other things too. Let's look at an example of how he dealt with a difficult situation. In 17, let's go to 17. This is how he dealt with it. This is to show that the Most High did bless him with wisdom, man. 17, 1 Kings 3 and 17 says, and the woman said, O my Lord, and this woman dwelt in one house, and I was delivered of a child with her in the house. There's a lot there, but we might as well just get what we can from it to make the point. And it came to pass the 3rd day after that I was delivered, that this woman was delivered also, and we together, there was no stranger with us in the house, save we two in the house. And the woman's child died in the night, because she overlaid it. She rolled on the baby. It overlaid it. She rolled over and killed the baby. And she arose at midnight and took my son from beside me, while thine handmaid slept, and laid it in her bosom, and laid her dead child in my bosom. Right, 21. And when I arose in the morning to give my child suck, behold, it was dead. But when I had considered it in the morning, behold, it was not my son, which I did bear. Right. And the other woman said, Nay, but the living is my son, and the dead is thy son. The dead is her son. And this said, No, but the dead is thy son, and the living is my son. Thus they spoke before the king. All this was happening before the king. You know, sometimes women get all dramatic about things. You know, they love, some women just love that drama. But this was a serious case that King Solomon had to deal with before him. He couldn't be just sitting there, you know, getting and laughing about it and just getting all entertained about it. He was picking brains. King Solomon had to pick their brains. Right? Then said the king, the one saith, This is my son that liveth, and thy son is the dead. And the other saith, Nay, but thy son is the dead, and my son is the living. So he starts, you know, picking their brains, asking questions. Because, you know, it takes discernment, and sometimes you just got to hear what people are coming, where the people are coming from, yeah? This is a really good example. In 24, and the king said, Bring me a sword. And they brought a sword before the king. And I remember watching this when I was young in one of those old 70s movies with, I think it was Yul Brynner. He played King Solomon. And I was all into that movie, King Solomon, when Yul Brynner played it. And if you know Yul Brynner, he played Pharaoh in the Ten Commandments with Charlton Heston. Charlton Heston played Moses, the Edomite, Charlton Heston, and Yul Brynner, I think he's a Jake, you know, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's a Jake, the way, just, you know, the way he was, how he pulls it off. He's a good actor. Yul Brynner played Pharaoh, and in the movie, I think it's the 70s, he played King Solomon, and he pulled it off too, you know, because he's got that air of, like, he's got that kind of rulership mentality, you know, that kingly, raw, I'm above it all mentality, Yul Brynner. So we pulled it off, right? And so the king said, Bring me a sword, and they brought a sword before the king. And the king said, Divide the living child in two, and gave half to one. Right? This is what he's saying he's gonna do. He didn't do it. And the king said, Divide the living child in two, and give half to one and half to another. Right. This is interesting. This is 26. Then spoke the woman, whose the living child was, unto the king, for her bowels yearned. It stirred up emotion when it says her bowels yearned. And King Solomon knew exactly what he was doing. Her bowels yearned upon her son, and she said, O my lord, give her the living child, and in no wise slay it. The woman showed her sincerity, her emotions were stirred up, the true mother of the child. But the other said, Let it be neither mine nor thine, but divide it. So the thief woman, the woman who wanted to thief the child, said, Kill the baby, because it didn't, you know, she had no emotional connection to the baby. That's why she had no problem in saying that. Kill the baby. And you see, that was wisdom. A series of questions got the correct answer. Yeah, and a threat. He was almost a threat to kill the baby. It got stirred up the truth woman's emotion and said, Nah, give her the baby, because she wanted the baby to live. You see, that is wisdom. Then the king answered and said, Give her the living child, and in no way slay it. She is the mother thereof. He understood the emotional connection between the mother and the son. He understood the emotional connection between the mother and the son. There was no emotional connection between the thief woman and the baby. And all Israel heard of the judgment which the king had judged, and they feared the king, for they saw that the wisdom of God was in him to do judgment. So that's an example there. That was a good example there of king understanding. You need discernment when it comes to judging difficult situations. That's what I'm going to title this video. You need discernment when it comes to judging difficult situations. But even on top of that, you need discernment when it comes to small situations too, whether they're big or small. So yeah, here's a situation. This is what I was dealing with when I was in the Christian church. This is a little bit of a testimony, you see, because I had a little bit of responsibility in that church. Yeah, I was the accountant. So let me read it and then I explain. This is in Exodus 22 and 22. It says, "Ye shall not afflict any widow nor fatherless child. If thou afflict them in any wise, and they cry out all unto me, I will surely hear their cry." 24. Exodus 22 and 24. "And my wrath shall wax hot, and I will kill you with the sword. And I will kill you with the sword, and your wives shall be widows, and your children shall be fatherless." So if you afflict any widow, as it says there, Most High gonna get vexed. Yeah, "shall not neither wax a stranger nor oppress him, for ye were strangers in the land of Egypt." Right? Don't afflict your the fatherless boy, the widow, right, or your neighbor, in a malicious way. Any of your Israelites, don't afflict them in a malicious way. And we know King Saul, he did that when he went off, when the Most High took his spirit from them. You see, but this is what happened when I was in the Christian church. There I was an accountant, and there was a particular woman, her name was Esther, and I had a relationship, not a romantic relationship, but I had relationships with my brothers and sisters. I got on with people, in other words. This was a strictly spiritual relationship I had. And I saw her as my mother, my spiritual mother. She was an older woman. And she was just, every now and then, when she got a little money, a little benefit money, I noticed she was giving me a whole heap of money, to put into like I say, I was signing checks. I was the accountant, and there was times when I had to sign checks when be a witness to the elder that was over me, when he came to signing checks. And when he went away, which he went away a couple of times on holiday, I was in full responsibility. And I noticed she was giving me bits of money, and I was thinking, she's a widow, and I knew her children. She had a couple of children. I knew them, I got on with them, and she'd give me all this money. Really, I wanted to say, keep some for yourself. I really wanted to say that, but I couldn't. But anyway, she was giving me this money, but I noticed they was treating her bad. Cut a long story short, the elders were really treating her bad. Right? And she was a widow. And so, it got to the point where I just had to speak out, man. And I brought this scripture up, and I read it to some of them. I said, listen, I'm not having this, right? Which eventually led me out of that Christian church. The Most High wanted me to witness that. And I said, I'm not having this. You're going against the scriptures. I read it again, and then I end off the video. It says, "And ye shall not afflict any widow or fatherless child. If thou afflict them in any wise, and thou cry out all unto me, I will surely hear their cry." So any brothers in positions of responsibility, it happens a lot in the Christian church. But like I say earlier, there's a lot of tyrants in this truth. Yeah, you get the best and the worst. A lot of them are in other camps, GLCCT, the pocket, in the purple people, then what they call again, GLCC, ISUPK, and the other one I can't really remember their one, but they all dressed in the title of theirs. They all dressed in purple. United in Christ, they're the ones. They was talking about the pocket, and we know what happened to him, the pocket. They were sponging off one brother. They named him the pocket. Extorting the brother. This what goes on with tyrants. Members of what they was doing then, they're back here doing it again. So it will happen. So that's why this is what was in the law. Ye shall not